Muscular endurance is an important health-related component of physical fitness. When considering training programs, it is difficult to isolate muscular stamina, strength and power from one another, since a program designed specifically to develop one of these components would also tend to develop the other attributes to some degree. Muscular endurance is often neglected in discussions of fitness programs, and it is usually mentioned only in connection with strength, as if they were the same thing. Experts agree that muscular stamina is a distinct and separate component of health-related fitness and that it requires a specific program. Muscular endurance is the capacity of a skeletal muscle or group of muscles to continue contracting over a long period. When you have good muscular stamina, you have the ability to resist fatigue and you can hold a position or carry something for a long period. You also have the ability to repeat a movement without getting tired. When muscles become fatigued, they do not completely relax between contractions and are more susceptible to injury, and the rate of contraction slows, so less work is done. One's ability to withstand fatigue depends partly upon inheritance, partly upon the ability to tolerate pain and discomfort, and partly upon proper training. In the absence of fatigue, there is greater success and enjoyment in daily work activities and in athletic and recreational endeavors. Good muscular endurance provides many other benefits. In addition to providing resistance to fatigue, research has shown that a program, low load, high volume, of sufficient intensity can reduce cardiovascular disease by enhancing your blood lipid profile, increasing the HDL and decreasing cholesterol. Good muscular endurance also increases the static strength of bones, ligaments and tendons. One study indicates it may be even more important than strength in preventing back problems. It also increases lean body mass, and produces small changes in body girth and skin folds. This is the type of training that beginning resistance trainers should engage in before using heavy resistance for strength. It is also believed to be safer for pregnant women, adolescents and the elderly than high-load strength training. Muscular endurance training tends to develop the slow-twitch fibers in your muscles. As you train specifically for muscular endurance, the muscles adapt as a result of changes in slow-twitch fibers, including increases activity of aerobic enzymes in the muscles. Strength training, on the other hand, tends to produce changes in the fast-twitch fibers, including increased activity of anaerobic enzymes. The overload principle also applies to muscular endurance. Though strength is developed by high resistance overload with low repetitions, dynamic muscular endurance requires just the opposite, higher repetitions and lower resistance. The ideal combination for maximum endurance is not known at this time. One study suggests that after progressing to 25 repetitions, it may be more effective to increase the resistance and keep the repetitions constant. To develop static muscular endurance, the overload principle is applied by progressively increasing the length of time the muscles remain contracted against an immovable resistance and increasing the number of repetitions. There is a threshold of training and a target zone for muscular stamina exercises. There is a level of frequency, intensity and time at which a training effect will begin to take place, threshold. There is also an optimal range or target zone, where the most effective and efficient improvement will occur. We do not know the exact range, but studies suggest that it has wide limits. The intensity, resistance, load, is less important than the number of repetitions or the lengths of time a muscle contracts. A muscular endurance training program should apply the principle of specificity by closely resembling the activity for which the endurance is needed. Muscular endurance is specific to the muscles being used, the type of muscle contraction, static or dynamic, the speed or cadence of the movement, and the amount of resistance being moved. For example, if you want stamina in the elbow flexor muscle, e.g., biceps, you must train those muscles. Performing muscular endurance exercise for the elbow extensor, e.g., triceps, or the leg muscles will not improve the muscular endurance of the biceps. Likewise, if you are trying to develop endurance for a dynamic task, you should do isotonic or isokinetic exercises. If you need endurance to hold you in a static position, do isometric exercises. If the activity requires a rapid movement, it is better to train with fast movements. There may be transfer from fast practice to slow movement in a skill, but the reverse is not necessarily true. There is evidence that athletes wishing to develop muscular endurance for a particular sport may benefit more from performing the sport skill repeatedly than from doing special exercises such as resistance training. If injury or weather prevents practice of the sport, then resistance training for endurance would be an effective alternative. Muscular endurance is slightly related to cardiovascular endurance, but it is not the same thing. Cardiovascular endurance depends primarily upon the efficiency of the heart muscle, circulatory system and respiratory system. It is developed with activities that stress these systems, such as running, cycling and swimming. Muscular endurance depends upon the efficiency of the local skeletal muscles and the nerves that control them. You might train for cardiovascular endurance by running, but if the leg muscles lack the muscular endurance to continue contracting for more than 5 minutes, the cardiovascular system will not be stressed, even if it is in good condition. Studies show that the person who is strength-trained will fatigue as much as 4 times faster than the person who is endurance-trained. However, there is a slight correlation between strength and endurance because the person who trains for strength will develop some stamina, and the person who trains for muscular endurance will develop some strength. Some stamina tests penalize the weaker person. If you are tested on absolute endurance, the number of times you can move a designated number of pounds, a stronger person has an advantage. However, if you are tested on relative muscular endurance, the number of times you can move a designated percentage of your maximum strength, the stronger person does not have an advantage, and men and women can compete more evenly. In fact, on some tasks women have done as well or better than men on endurance. Strength training will not help you improve your relative endurance. In a study of 3 training groups, it was shown that the relative endurance varied with the types of resistance and repetitions. It was discovered that although the low-rep high-resistance group had a 20% increase in absolute endurance, it actually decreased 7% in relative endurance. As mentioned previously, muscular strength and muscular endurance are similar but different. They are part of the same continuum. This has led some people to refer to muscular endurance as strength endurance. Pure strength is approached as one nears the end of a continuum, where only one maximum contraction is made. As the number of repetitions increases and the force of the contractions decreases, one nears the other end of the continuum and approaches pure endurance. In between the two extremes, varying degrees of strength and stamina are combined. All methods used in strength development are applicable to stamina development. Resistance training, calisthenics, isometrics, isokinetics, and such activities as running, swimming, circuit training and aerobic dance can all be designed to increase muscular endurance. Even games, such as rope climbing, tug of war, Indian wrestling, and hopping races can contribute to muscular endurance. One popular method of training for muscular stamina is circuit resistance training, CRT. Circuit resistance training for muscular endurance consists of the performance of high repetitions of an exercise with low to moderate resistance, progressing from one station to another, performing a different exercise at each station. The stations are usually placed in a circle. CRT typically employs about 20 to 25 reps against a resistance that is 30 to 40% of 1 RM, regular muscular endurance, for 45 seconds. Approximately 10 exercise stations are used and participant repeats the circuit 2 to 3 times, sets. Circuit training on weight or hydraulic machines has been found to be more effective than standard weight training for caloric consumption during and after exercise and for improving cardiovascular endurance, although it is not as effective as aerobic exercises such as cycling or bench stepping. High-intensity endurance is best trained by multiple sets rather than by one set of repetitions to exhaustion. There has been a long-running debate over which is more effective for developing muscular stamina, a single set of exercise to exhaustion, or the tradition's method of multiple sets. Recent studies have shown the traditional method is superior. Exercise to slim the figure/physique should be of the muscular endurance type. Many men and women are interested in exercises designed to decrease girth measurements. High repetition, low resistance exercise is suitable for this because it usually brings about some strengthening and some decrease in skin fold and girth, which in turn changes body contour. Exercises do not spot reduce fat. Endurance exercises do speed up metabolism so more calories are burned, though if weight or fat reduction is desired, aerobic, cardiovascular exercises are best. To increase girth, strength exercises such as those powerlifters use for hypertrophy and/or a weight gain program are best. Endurance training may have a negative effect on strength and power. Some studies have shown that for athletes who rely primarily on strength and power in their sports event, too much endurance training can cause a loss of strength and power because of modification of different muscle fibers. Strength and power athletes need some endurance training, but not too much, just as endurance athletes need some strength and power training, but not too much. Some training methods can interfere with athletic performance. Some research studies have shown that certain techniques used in training may actually cause a decrease in performance. For example, when distance runners were trained with weighted wristlets, anklets and belts, they performed worse than runners who did not wear weights in training. In another study, people were running and cycling for aerobic endurance 6 days per week combined those exercises with a strength training program 5 days per week. The results yielded a decrease in strength development near the upper limits. Guidelines for muscular endurance training programs are the same as those for strength development. It is particularly important that all muscle groups are exercised. For example, if you program for cardiovascular fitness stresses the muscles of the legs, front and back, then these might be omitted from your muscular endurance program and special attention given to the muscles on the inside and outside of the legs, and the muscles of the trunk and upper extremities.